Invisiblekatana here, doing a new series, very impromptu sort of thing, just called Let's Discuss. For the first episode, I wanted to do Control because I've been freaking out over this game lately. Came out last Tuesday, or yeah, last Tuesday, not the most recent Tuesday, but the Tuesday before that, I believe. Um, Beat the game, got 100% on it, got all the trophies and stuff, which is weird because you don't even have to have all the collectibles to actually get all the trophies, which I thought was very interesting. They just put like a set number and like get this many and then you get the trophy. And I was like, oh, it's not like get this and this and then get all of them. So it's one of those weird things where it's like, yeah, I completed it, but I was playing the other day. I probably found like five to eight new files that weren't even a part of like special missions or anything. It was just like, oh, I've never been here. I never discovered this area. I opened up a bunch of boxes. The boxes are pointless. It was just materials, and I maxed out my character, so I literally have like extra points and nothing to put them into because I've maxed out my character so far. But latest game from Remedy, my favorite developer. For those of you who don't know, they made Max Payne 1 and 2, not 3. Rockstar did that all on their own. Still did a good job, so thank you, Rockstar, for actually holding true to that. Alan Wake, which is like one of my favorite games of all time. They did Quantum Break, which came after one of my favorite games of all time. It's pretty much like Quantum Break I was fine with, but I got why people didn't like it that much, and it was like, okay, it's alright. And it was fun. I don't think that'll get it too much, sadly, much like Alan Wake. I don't think there's going to be an official sequel. I would have loved to have seen that get a conclusion to the story because it was a time travel story. So anyone who hasn't played it, it's a weird thing they'll play because they have like these options and then you get like there's like a series that's built along with the video game, so it's like live action stuff. So the actors in the game have live action scenes that play out in between chapters of the actual game. So you make these choices here and there, so you get different cutscenes in both live action as well as in the game. So it changes little things here and there about what characters are going to be doing and what they say and even what happens to them. And it's for minor characters, but it does have an impact. So I was like, okay, it's interesting to play that, and I see what they were going for. It was a very interesting story element, and definitely, like Remedy always does interesting stuff when it comes to like the artistic nature of the game. Like they do a lot of like out there ideas, like having a full on half-hour episode in between freaking chapters and crazy stuff like that. Sadly, that just didn't pan out as much, but they've always done live action stuff. They did Night Springs and Alan Wake, which was the Twilight Zone series. They did Lords and Ladies, which is like the soap opera show in Max Payne. They also did I want to say it's called Address Unknown, which I guess was like the story was kind of like Max Payne's story, but had a more supernatural element to it. So it was kind of like X-Files meets Max Payne a little bit. And even in this, in Control, they've got all the live action stuff for. There's going to be spoilers in this, so once again, impromptu stuff. There's going to be some spoilers in this, but nothing major. This literally is just the live action element of this game in particular. They have Dr. Darling, who is actually the actor who plays Darling is the voice actor for Alan Wake. It took me a minute to realize that, but he said something very specific, and I was like, I'm stupid. That's Alan Wake. Like, that's him, because I didn't know who the actor was that played him. But that was the voice actor for Alan Wake. So I thought that was great. They had him in there. So he does all the live action stuff as Dr. Darling. They have the voice actor for Max Payne come in as well, and he's the director. So I thought that was super cool. Unfortunately, we don't really see him too much outside of like some minor scenes. Like most of the stuff you see with him is just like the same repeating sort of image. So you don't really see a lot of him like physically as a character, which is unfortunate because I just thought it was cool. But I definitely like that, so that was definitely a cool element. There's a super great Easter egg. I didn't even find this until after I beat the game, and I saw it on YouTube because I was like, I want to see who else is geeking out over Control and all the Alan Wake references. And I saw one that I didn't even know was there, and this is once again one of those super minor spoilers for a secret area of the game. Excuse me. But they actually did bring in the live action actor for Alan Wake, who was in not the cutscenes. There's like a mini series that they did, which I believe was leading up to the video game, and then they also had the actor come back for Alan Wake's American Nightmare, and he played Mr. Scratch. But he's like the live action face of Alan Wake, and he looks just like the character in the game. I don't know if the character is actually based off of him, but it does look just like him. I was like, man, if they ever did make a show, they could totally have this guy, and he sounded like him. But I don't think he was dubbed over. I didn't even consider it at the time. I just assumed that it was actually the dude because I just thought they modeled the character after his face, and he was also the voice. But I was wrong about that. So I don't know if his voice was actually dubbed over. I'd have to watch like those super old random episode clips that I have on my Xbox 360. But they brought him in for like this little reference where he's like typing on the typewriter, and they have, of course, the Alan Wake voice actor say some roles as Alan Wake, and it was super cool. I was like, oh, this is awesome, because they don't do that throughout the game. It's just the voice actor of Alan Wake is a different character now, and he sounds different. And like I said, that's why it took me a minute to catch on. But that was cool. Like, they had him doing the voice. They had the live action actor. You don't see him too much, but I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the same guy unless they found someone else to come in. And they just had him come in and like type on a typewriter. And I was like, that is the best reference. Like, and that's literally someone's title on YouTube is like the best Alan Wake reference in Control. And they were totally right. It really is. And it was just amazing. So that's one of the things I love about Control. Like, it is so fun. Loved all the references. Loved everything they did that connected to Alan Wake. And they referenced some stuff. I even watched a video recently where they talked about how Quantum Break is within the universe, which I already knew because Alan Wake is referenced in Quantum Break. They do two references. One is in-world, and the other one technically doesn't make sense because some of the characters are playing the game Alan Wake, but that was just a cool reference. But Alan Wake exists as a writer within the world of Quantum Break, so of course it's the same thing. And the video I was recently watching, they had like the letters AWE, which now we know in Control stands for Altered World Events. They had that as like graffiti in Quantum Break. So they probably had this all set up, which I know for a fact that they did, because and this is one of my favorite things that I didn't even realize. When I first played the game and they've referenced where Jesse Faden, this main character here, came from, it's the town of Ordinary. And so for those of you who are obsessed with Alan Wake, like myself, in Alan Wake's American Nightmare, Balance Slays the Demon is the song that they get for Old Gods of Asgard. I was trying not to say Poets of the Fall because that's the actual group, but the group that they play in the game, Old Gods of Asgard, they made a song called Balance Slays the Demon, and there's a scene there's a part in that song where it's some stuff played in reverse, and I watched a YouTube video and it was like, it'll happen in a town called Ordinary, and that was years ago. I think that was before Quantum Break even came out. That song was made. So they've had Control in the works for like 8 years now, 6 or 7 years at this point, because that song came out, of course, after the original Alan Wake. It was an expansion, so that came out probably 6 or 7 years ago, and they had that song in there, like it's gonna happen in a town called Ordinary. And then Quantum Break came out, and it didn't have anything to do with that, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then of course it was like, Ordinary, I think it was Virginia is the place, and that blew my freaking mind. And also, in that song, the opening to the song, like, I won't play it because I'll totally get copyrighted, but if you play this song, Balance Slays the Demon, there is a clip. It's one of the recordings that you find towards the end of the game. Well, I was gonna say as Jesse, you only play as Jesse. It's one of the recordings you find of Jesse, where she's talking to a therapist, and the therapist is like, "Oh, you had this quote from like this famous author or something," and it's literally. Yeah, super impromptu. I didn't even put my phone on silent. It's literally the opening lines of Balance Slays the Demon, and I didn't catch it the first time I listened to it. I was like, that sounds oddly familiar. That's so weird. I don't know why. And then I was just going through, and I didn't really listen to it because something was happening like in the game, and it was like a bunch of noise going off, and I was like, I can barely hear this thing unless I like pause the game. But somebody was over with me. I was like, we're just gonna enjoy the story and just go through. So when I went back and I listened to it again, I was like, I got it. Like, it just hit me. Like, it clicked, and I was like, holy crap. And I paused the game and I went through my phone and I played the song, and I was like, that is amazing. So it was like this weird thing where it was like this fake author that Jesse, for whatever reason, thought it was this person's had this saying, but it was actually from the song The Old Gods of Asgard, which exists within the world of Control. And that was the whole thing, even within Alan Wake, like their songs were about the future and stuff like that. So it was super cool. Like, I thought that was so interesting. I was like, that is freaking amazing. Like, they reference Ordinary within that song, and they use that song as this weird mental connection that somehow Jesse thought that it was an author that made it, but it was actually the song that references an event happening in her town. Crazy stuff. Like, it's just crazy connections. And then once again, this is spoilers, so and these are all fine, and it's funny, all my spoilers are like references and stuff. Like, personally, I don't know how many people are like huge fans of Alan Wake like I am, which is why I was, like, I love Remedy because of Alan Wake. Like I said, Quantum Break I wasn't super crazy about, but I still enjoyed it. And then when they announced Control, I was all over it because I just love what they did with Alan Wake so much. I was just like, even though, I didn't hate Quantum Break, even though I was like, it's fine. I thought it was entertaining. Definitely the action was good. When I saw the trailer, as soon as they did the action, that's when I knew it was Remedy, because the graphics looked the same as Quantum Break, just a bit better. And I was just like, holy crap, this is Remedy. And then it's just one of the best trailers ever. Like every time I tell somebody, I was like, people hadn't heard about Control, I was like, you should watch the trailer. And it's just one of the best trailers because it's like, this is weird and trippy and confusing and amazing, all wrapped in one. And that's what it's like playing the game too. But I totally lost track of what the heck I was saying. Like all my spoilers being just references, really. But with them going through and having these connections to Alan Wake, some of the other stuff that they had, it was like one of the first files that I had in the game. You can actually check my Instagram post on it. When I think it was the first day I was playing or the day after I played, and I put some stuff there, and I was like, I'm pretty sure, and once again, this is like a minor spoiler as far as like a cool reference. I was like, I'm pretty sure that the Federal Bureau of Control created Bright Falls, which is the Twilight Zone series that plays in Alan Wake, and based off of the series Night Springs. And I was like, they have stuff redacted. So odds are, if you're watching this, you already know that. Like, if you got to this point, you know there's spoilers. You've gone through at least enough stuff. So they have things redacted, and it was like it was some reference to something, and it was like, I think we can do this based on and it was redacted, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that says Night Springs or Bright Falls. And I was like, I think the Federal Bureau of Control created the series of Night Falls or Bright Springs. I keep saying it. Created the show Bright Springs. Or no, what was it? Was it Night Falls? I can't remember which was the actual city and which was the show now. So I think Night Springs should be the show. Bright Springs, Nightfall. Night Falls should probably be the show because it sounds creepier. So Night Falls is probably the series. I already messed myself up in the head. The point is, I read that article, the little file in the game, and that was one of the first ones I found, and I was like, I think it was already early on, and they were connecting back to Alan Wake. And then later in the game, you can find the file where they straight up say, like, hey, there's this old property that no one's using anymore. I think we can rebrand this series and put it out, and we can basically, as like a weird way, with all the weird stuff they're doing in the game, we can use that as a way to manipulate the zeitgeist pretty much and kind of keep an eye on what people do or don't believe as far as like really weird theories and otherworldly events or AWEs. So I just love that, like that, those connections. And then they have files that are just straight up like, this is what happened in Bright Springs. So I love that, like all those direct connections to Alan Wake. There was something else too where something happened to like a specific character and they like referenced Alan Wake or something like that, and it was like they were talking about like files, and I made the connection. The spiral, for anyone who's got to this, but once again, like I've already mentioned spoilers, so at this point it's your fault. So in the Ocean View Motel, they talk about the different doors, and they have like the inverted pyramid, of course, leads you back to the oldest house. The spiral is based on Alan Wake, and I didn't realize that until I found the file at the end of the game where it was like, yeah, this door, it's always locked. Like this sheet of paper came from underneath this door with the spiral, and they had some stuff redacted, but I think it was like this thing happens whenever the pages are wet or whatever. And you can read like it said like Wake, and it was like Alan Wake ? And I was like, oh, the spiral is, I can't remember the guy's name at all. It's been 8 years since I've played Alan Wake, but the spiral is a reference to Alan Wake because that's what you would see every time you were in, like, I guess you could say the astral plane at this point, or whatever plane of existence that was, when you would see the first guy that ended up disappearing in Bright Springs. So I thought that was awesome. Like it clicked at the end, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Like every time you would see this guy, it was just like this spiral as you were walking towards him, or it would be like these rings of light, and that's what the spirals represent on the door. It would lead you back to the lake. So I thought that was super cool. I thought that was freaking amazing. I was like, holy crap, it didn't even dawn on me because it's been so long since I played Alan Wake. But once it was like, yeah, these wet pages came from underneath the spiral door and it said like Alan Wake on the side, I was like, the spiral makes perfect sense. So love that. For a second, I had to look it up, but that wasn't the case. I thought the Ocean View Motel might be a redone version of the motel from Alan Wake's American Nightmare, because you go through like a repeated cycle in that, and there's a motel in that game. And I just thought maybe this is like a different corridor, but it was a casino, and it wasn't that in Alan Wake's American Nightmare. But that's it for this video. Super impromptu, nothing to do with a review or anything like that. I just wanted to kind of gush about what I love about this. One thing I hate, the freaking frame rate stuff. That's ridiculous. I hate that. But I love the game. Otherwise, it's freaking amazing. I can't wait for the DLC to come out. There's, I think, Take Control, the song that's in this, that's done by the Old Gods of Asgard, that also has a thing where they do something, they say something in reverse. So hopefully somebody already did that on YouTube, so I gotta look it up. But Excited to look into that. Excited for the DLC to come out. Everything about this game is super fun. I'm excited to play it again. I hope they add a new game plus, and I definitely hope they do an update and a patch for the weird frame rate issues that I seem to have. I have a regular PS4, but it legitimately slows down as if I have like an old laptop or something. And I'm like, that's kind of just ridiculous. But other than that, I love the game. The action is just phenomenal. Like, I just don't get tired of picking stuff up and just slamming it into people, and they're gone. Once you max out like the I forgot what it's called, but when you pick stuff up and throw it, once you max that power out, it's kind of hard to do like the seize ability, because you'll hit people, their health just drops, and it's like, oh, I killed them. Well, I was trying to get in a little ally over there, but whatever. Super fun. Love that. Love the traversal, like just finding stuff in the game, like when you have to find like all the different altered items. When I went through and found like the piece of paper that like jumps around all over the place, I had never looked up. I had never looked up like in that giant hallway, and I just looked up. I was like, "There's like 6 floors above me." I never even considered that before. And then you get the levitate power, and you can just go through all sorts of crazy stuff. You find all sorts of doors that you couldn't get to, or like you can see a window and it's like, I couldn't get there, and you can just bash through windows. That's another thing. Some people don't know this. If a door is locked and there's a window, you can just shoot through the window. Like I did that early on in the game when you first go to maintenance. It's like a level 4 door or something on the first floor. You can just blast through the window. You can just shoot it technically, but I like dashing through stuff because I like the destructibility of the game. So you can just dash through windows and you can skip through. I think it only happens like maybe 2 or 3 spots. Like both of them were actually in that maintenance segment. If you can get up there high enough, you don't actually have to have that security pass. You can just bash through the window and it's like, okay, I'm in the room now. I like that idea. It's just like, if it's not one of those gridlock things, you can just shoot right through it and you're good to go. So random little thing to kind of help out, I guess. Love the game. Love the game. I don't know if I'll do like an official review on everything about this. I might at some point, but I wanted to do this as a test run for a new series and just, let's discuss. So would love to know what you guys think about Control. If you're a huge Alan Wake fan, I wish I knew someone that was like so into it. That's why I wanted to do this and just not have it be like an official review and just be like, I just want to gush about how this connects to Alan Wake, which is one of my favorite things ever. That's pretty much why I did this video, and that's pretty much was like the whole idea for this series, to be like, I don't want to review the game. I really just want to talk about this one element and how I love that Remedy connects all their games together. So we'll see where it goes from here. I don't know if they're going to do anything. Everyone, of course, does want Alan Wake 2. Every time you see stuff about a new Remedy game, that's where I find all the people who are like, Alan Wake 2, and I'm like, my people. But sadly, no one in person. I haven't found anyone like face to face where I can just be like, and then this happened in Alan Wake, and then that thing happened in Alan Wake, and then in this game they reference that from Alan Wake, and it all kind of just goes back to Alan Wake. Or Alan Wake goes to Max Payne, because that was insane when they have the flashback in that game, and it's the Max Payne voice actor, and of course they basically have like a cardboard cutout of the Max Payne 2 cover, stuff like that. So I'm in this video because I'm gonna just keep going, but wanted to do this new series just to talk and be happy about Control, because I love the game, played the crap out of it. Excited to go through it again just to do the story mode. I do hope they add a new game plus to keep the powers. I haven't tested it to see if you lose your powers, but I know if you do like the chapter select thing, you lose your progress, because I did that at one point and I was like, oh, well, I won't choose a different chapter. I'll just keep playing because I want to show my friend the beginning. And we just ended up watching a YouTube video because I was like, I don't want to lose all my progress. So hopefully they add a new game plus. Looking forward to the DLC. There's supposed to be 2. So I'm curious how extensive those are going to be. One of which I know relates to a certain character that I won't spoil, so even though I've been spoiling like super minor connections, like it's hardly even spoilers. It's just files and how they connect the worlds. But it would be like an actual game spoiler for like the story element. So I won't talk about that, but very excited for the DLC. Excited to see how they officially do the story. Got to check the song and stuff and see if that connects to what's going to pop up in the DLC. But very happy with this game. Cannot wait to play through it again. Check out the DLC, get some new powers. That would be cool if they added new powers for the DLC. I kind of doubt it because I feel like they wouldn't be long enough. But if they do a new game plus, we could keep that power and then go through the whole game and have like a brand new ability. I don't know what they could possibly add once you get flight and telekinesis and mind control and the shield. Like you would basically have to just add straight up super speed or like super strength or something, and we have melee. So I don't think they could add a new power, but it would be cool. I'd be fine with it. I'm sure it would be awesome. But either way, thanks for checking this out. Hope you guys are currently enjoying or have enjoyed Control. Of course, once again, just let's discuss. So in the comments, let me know what you guys thought about the game, all the connections, if they matter, if they don't matter to you. Like, just what you like about the game or don't like. The frame rate thing still just straight up ridiculous, but I wanted to talk about what made me happy about the game. So that was the point of this video. Thanks for checking it out, and please put your comments down in the comment section below.